Got it. Got it. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to a few of you. Welcome to the community briefing. My name is Gregory Sneed, and thank you for joining us today. Our guest is Adam Gower, who will be sharing information valuable to our community. First, a little bit about myself. I am a financial coach. My company is Lifesaver Financial Services. I help people with life insurance, long-term care. I'm a financial coach for individuals and businesses, and I teach financial literacy. Why? Because I believe that when you feel better about your money, you feel better about your life. If you'd like to get in touch and feel better about your money, I'll have some information in the chat. And now it's my pleasure to introduce the queen of our community briefing, Ms. Crystal Mitchell.
Thank you, Greg. And it's always good to feel good about your money. I feel so much better when my money is secure. Welcome, everyone. Glad to have you. We're excited about our guest. He's excited to be here as well. And we're going to talk about a different way to raise money for our businesses and our projects and so forth. I am the co-director of Recycling Black Dollars. This platform was launched mainly for our community, so we would know what was going on in the community, what opportunities were available for us, not later when it's too late to apply for them, but in the current, in the now. So we have been blessed with a number of people that are following us. We have all our audience that comes religiously every week. And so we're so thankful for that. So we want to thank you. Know that this is your community. Share it, share and share it with friends and family. And what else? That's it. I'm a business coach. I host two other podcasts, one called The Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert, and one on Monday called Conversations on the Patio, which we talk about all things retirement for those of us that are wishing to retire one day. Before I give up my platform, I want everyone that knows my co-host on The Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert. We'd like for you guys to pray for Gilbert. He is in the hospital with COVID, and we need him to be back on the platform with me and working with me, because he's a valuable part of my business and I'm a valuable part of his. So pray for Gilbert that he gets well and gets back home as soon as possible. And with that, I am going to turn it back over to Greg, and he's going to introduce our guests. And thank you, Sarah. Hello, Michael. Welcome, Bianca, Joy. Glad to have you guys. And more will be coming, Adam, Dr. Gower. Thank you.
And Crystal, don't leave out Robin.
Oh, and Robin, and our other co-host, Miss Robin Phillips. Today she's at the oncologist, so she won't be tuning in, but she is here with us in spirit, and we're praying that she also recovers a speedy recovery. So yes, thank you, Greg.
It is valuable to take care of our health, both our physical health and our mental health. We're going to be talking today about some of your money health, because you want your money to be healthy as well, right? So today, our guest is Adam Gower. He has his doctorate, so he is a Ph.D., which I used to be saying is piled higher and deeper, I think it's called. He is involved in real estate syndication, raising capital, and investing wisely. So wisely is really the important thing, because people always ask about investments. You can invest in a lot of things, and probably the most important thing to invest in is yourself. But after that, you want to invest in things that can give you a return on your money, and certainly can help that. So he's involved in real estate syndication. So it's raising capital for projects online. They help developers build best-in-class digital marketing platforms for real estate developers so they can syndicate their deal equity online. They provide education so that you can invest in with greater confidence in real estate deals. He has a podcast that he does. It's called The Real Estate Crowdfunding Show: Syndication in the Digital Age. very important to make that transition from dealing with people face to face and now dealing with in what you call it, in the digital world. He has a book which he's going to be sharing with us, and it's called Leaders of the Crowd. And is it available for sale?
It is actually, but it's actually a different book I'm going to be talking about.
Okay, and so he has a different book that he's going to be
published one this week, another one this week I wanted to share with you.
Okay, so breaking news, all right. And he'll be able to share some information with us there. Let's see, he's been with GowerCrowd.com. He's Castlewell Properties, Inc. He's the founder of that for the last 22 years. National Real Estate Forum, the founder of that. And let's see, Colony Capital, Gower Capital, East West Bank, Text One's clients, and he has a Ph.D. from UCL in London in history, banking, and risk mitigation. Also the London School of Economics and Political Science. My pleasure to welcome Dr. Adam Gower.
What an enormous pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for that very gracious introduction. I must, first of all, I've got to apologize for having sent you my high school graduation photograph to put all over everything. As you can see, I'm a bit older than that photograph that you've been pushing out.
Yeah, we're going to need to see some ID, right? Really.
So is this the real guy? I know, I just had some change. And the other thing is, I must say that this has been, I'm on podcasts, I'm on events, I'm on webinars, I'm like, all over the place all the time. This is by far the best organized event I've been on, period. So kudos to all of you for the way you manage it and the way you put it together. It's really, really impressive.
Thank you.
So what I'm going to talk about is real estate crowdfunding. And I will start at a very high level. It's probably, this is one of my favorite topics. So there's a distinct danger that I could go for hours. I'm going to try and restrain myself from doing that. But I'm going to start at a high level, and then I'm going to dive deep very quickly. All right. And I'm going to talk to you about real estate crowdfunding from the investor perspective, not from the capital formation perspective, not from raising money, but from an investment perspective. Greg, particularly if you're a financial advisor, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is how to invest in real estate in a brand new way. So forgive me if you already know about crowdfunding, but I'm going to give you that very, very quick highlight. Investing in private equity real estate deals. So think about it. And all the buildings that you see when you drive around town, when you go downtown or you go into any city anywhere, chances are you don't really consciously wonder who owns that building, because there's no possibility that you could own that building. If you see a skyrise downtown Los Angeles, you don't think, oh, I'd love to own that building, because it's so far beyond any realm of possibility that it doesn't enter your consciousness. And the reason for that is that in 1933, the laws of America changed and prohibited anybody but a very, very tiny minority from investing in those buildings. It was called the Securities Act of 1933. And what that did was it said that if you want to raise money from the general public, you've got to do an IPO. And an IPO is enormously expensive and time consuming. And so what it did was it pushed real estate investing into smoke-filled back rooms, closed-door back rooms in exclusive clubs all over the country. It's like this, the cliche country club set, right? If you weren't a member of the right country club and you didn't know the right people, you weren't allowed to invest, all right? So there was an exemption to the Securities Act, and the exemption said that you don't have to do an IPO. You can solicit money from investors provided you have a pre-existing relationship. In other words, if you are a friend or family. If it's friends or family or colleagues, somebody you know from business, you can ask them, but otherwise you can't ask. Okay. 2012 rolls around and the Jobs Act is passed, right? The Obama administration passes the Jobs Act, and the Jobs Act reversed that law and said you can now advertise. So for the first time, really effectively in history, real estate developers don't have to know you before they can invite you to invest in their deals. They can actually advertise. Not only that, they can put out social media posts. They can build a website. They could fly a plane across the city saying, invest with me, call this number, right? Everything, all that was illegal before. So now these buildings that you see downtown, some of my clients own these buildings. I mean, it really is real, right? That instead of having to be a member of the right club or have millions and millions of dollars to invest in some of the best real estate in America, now real estate sponsors are crowdfunding. Real estate developers and owners are crowdfunding their deals. They're going out to the general public and they are saying, invest with me. You only need to invest $10,000 or $25,000, whatever. Some relatively very small amount of money, not tens of millions that you would previously, or $1 million minimum that you would previously needed to have had in order to be able to invest, called crowdfunding. So my business is to build systems that help sponsors, real estate developers, raise money online. And the benefits there are, I just published a new book this last week. It's called The Secret World of Real Estate and Crowdfunding. And I'll give you a link. I'll tell you, it's really easy to find. I'll tell you all about how to find it. But there are basically, what's the very first thing you got to ask is, all right, now we've got this great opportunity to invest in real estate in a way that was never possible before. Now, like you could go out and buy a duplex or a fourplex or a 10plex or a little office building. But you know what? There's a lot of brain damage doing that. I have little properties all over the place. My personal account, it's a pain. You got to deal with tenants. They call you all the time. It's got to deal with it. It's a headache. It's better to invest with a professional. You want to rely on a professional who does this 24/7. That's what you can do now with crowdfunding. But the first question, so the new book talks about two main topics. This is what's really interesting. The first is, why invest in real estate in the first place, right? Why is real estate, and why has it historically been one of the most popular ways to invest for the elite of America for the last 80 years, number one? And also, how has crowdfunding leveled the playing field? So in the short amount of time I've got now, I'm going to run through those key points to just to give you a sense for what this new world of crowdfunding offers to everybody in America. First of all, the primary place where people invest is in stocks and bonds. Right? That's where you invest. You can buy a single stock, you can buy bonds. It's the easy thing to do. You see it on the news all the time. The problem with stocks and bonds is that they are subject to the news cycle. I'm going to try and go through this very quickly. They are subject to the news cycle. And so what do you see? One day you'll be sitting there thinking you've got all this money in stocks, and boom, suddenly somebody says something and the stock market collapses, right? Overnight, 20% at the beginning of COVID. What happened? 30% off the value. Can you imagine? That's just so unnerving for investors. Now, if you invest in real estate, because real estate, and this is kind of getting a bit technical, is illiquid. You can't sell by pressing a button online, right, with stocks and bonds. Because it's illiquid, it doesn't have the same volatility. It doesn't jump up and down in the same way. By the way, just to be clear, investing in real estate is not an and or, right? This is not sell everything and buy real estate. So, and Greg will talk about this, I'm sure. It's part of diversifying your portfolio so that you have balanced risk across your portfolio. All right, so that's number one. It's less volatile. The other thing that people love to say, and the most popular asset class is multifamily, right? Apartments. Why? Because everybody needs somewhere to live. All right, that's what everyone says. That's why multifamily apartments are the best thing to invest in. But everyone needs somewhere to eat, right? You gotta, when you eat, they've got supply chains and warehouses and restaurants and all kinds of other things. People need to work. So there are every single asset class. Real estate is probably the most stable asset class there is. It constantly grows as the population grows. Real estate grows as well, and with it, so do prices. So that's the second hidden secret that only the elite have really been able to tap into for the last 80 years. The third is you really can get passive income. Anybody that's owned a little apartment building or a duplex or any kind of apartment, you know that you're getting rents, and those rents just come through to you like clockwork on a monthly basis. That is passive, true passive income. You got to work for it a bit, and that's the beauty of crowdfunding. You can actually pay somebody else to do all that for you and diversify at the same time. But here's the really cool thing. Those rents are actually guaranteed by contracts. It's amazing. Whenever you rent an apartment or rent a house, what do? You sign a contract, you sign a lease. When you rent an office building, if you have an office, you sign a lease. Those rents are effectively guaranteed by contracts. Again, I'm just skimming the surface, but it's one of those benefits that when you really get into the DNA of real estate has been exclusively for the advantage of an elite group of people until today. The fifth major benefit is wealth, what I call wealth generation through leverage. You can borrow to increase your returns. Now, you got to be very careful with debt, right? Going out and borrow. If you borrow too much, you can lose a property. But the beauty of crowdfunding is that you can now invest with a sponsor, with a professional real estate investor, right? Somebody's got a whole staff of people working for him, and he will sign on the dotted line with the bank. You don't need to do that. So you can get the benefits of leverage to build your wealth without taking the risk of signing on a loan. That's another one of the advantages of crowdfunding. Somebody else will take that risk for you. Now, you're going to pay them a little bit to do that, but whew, talk about sleeping at night, right? It's like you're not worried you're going to suddenly not only lose your investment, but owe the bank millions of dollars as well. And the sixth hidden benefit for the last 80 years, oh my goodness me, the tax benefits. Do me a favor. The elite of America have been amazing in their lobbying over the last 80 years to get the most amazing tax benefits. And today, because of crowdfunding, you can benefit from those as well. There's all kinds. It's all, I get into the detail in the book. I won't get into too much detail. And by the way, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a lawyer. I like to say anything at all to do with tax. I have one rule, the AAA rule. Ask an accountant, ask an attorney if it's about law. Right? That's my primary rule. But the tax benefits are amazing. You can depreciate your real estate. That means you keep more of your income. You can transfer, you can sell a property. It's one amazing, it's called the 1031 exchange, where you can sell a property, make a huge profit, buy another property and not pay capital gains. Can you imagine that with stocks and shares? Oh, I just sold Apple and made some profit. I'd like to buy another stock. Can I please, defer the taxes I have? Forget it. But you can with real estate. And then there's the last thing, it's called opportunity zones. Opportunity zones are extraordinary. You can, again, I'm not going to get too much into taxes, too deep into the weeds, but you can invest in an opportunity zone and end up, if you invest for 10 years, paying no capital gains at all, ever. It's amazing benefit that only the rich and the elite of America have had access to for the last 80 years until today. Now, crowdfunding opened up this world to everybody. Now you don't have to have millions of dollars to invest. You can invest, believe it or not, there are some websites where you can invest as little, I've seen as little as $5. Can you imagine that? In real estate, crazy, $5. Some offer you can invest $100, but for the most part, you're looking at accredited investors, you're looking at a minimum investment of $10,000 or $25,000, right? That's kind of the usual amount that you're looking at to invest in these kinds of real estate. What crowdfunding did was it leveled the playing field. So while the 1% have been benefiting from real estate investing for the last 80 years, and it's opened up the world to everything that they had, what crowdfunding has also done is, I love this idea of leveling the playing field. It's actually brought new benefits to investing in real estate that not even the ultra wealthy were able to benefit from. And there are 6 of those. The first is portfolio diversification. We got kind of technical a little bit, but again, Greg's the expert here. But in terms of investing, you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. You want to diversify. Now, in the past, because there were these, the only way to invest was to invest through these kind of closed door clubs, these closed door groups around the country. Even if I was super wealthy and a member of the Hillcrest Country Club, and one of the guys there was a developer and invited me to, to invest $1 million or something in his deal, I would have no idea what was happening in Dallas or in New York or in Miami or anything. All I would know, any of the wealthy, all they would know is what was happening locally with the people they knew personally. It was very, very opaque. You just couldn't see beyond what was right in front of you. Now everything's online. And so you can invest in self-storage, you can invest in apartments, you can invest in office buildings, medical office buildings, hotels, whatever you are interested in, you can invest in single family home for rent portfolios. You can invest in everything. That was never, ever possible before. That's diversification. Not only that, but you can invest in different cities. You've never been able to do it before. It's really incredible. You can find deals all over the country, and you can invest with different sponsors. A sponsor is a professional real estate investor. You can invest with different sponsors so you can spread your risk. You can mitigate risk by diversifying. And what that also does is that it maximizes your returns, right? So diversification is the first major benefit that wasn't available to anybody before crowdfunding in the way that it is today. The second brand new benefit, this is my favorite benefit of all. I'm going to just do this one very quickly. You have the opportunity to invest in discounted deals during recessions. Oh my goodness, distressed deals. Very briefly, when I was invited, I sold my portfolio in 2007, right before the last major downturn. Yeah, right before the downturn. I was brought into a major bank to help them clear their balance sheet. So I worked on a huge portfolio, billions of dollars of loans that had been made to investors, to real estate investors, that were all bad. And so I found investors for that. And here's what happened then. At that time, real estate professional sponsors had access to buying these deals, but they didn't have cash because liquidity had fallen out of the market. Their usual sources no longer were providing capital to them. But there were people out there who had money, who were working, who were successful, even during the downturn, who wanted to invest in real estate but had no access. And the law said at that time, you cannot advertise. A professional who had access to all these distressed deals was unable to go out online and say, hey, invest with me. It was illegal. Today, it is legal for them to do that. Now, fortunately, we are not in a recession. We're not in a downturn, but there will be another one. And when that next one comes along, there will be a lot of incredible distressed real estate at incredible bargain prices. And if you are familiar with real estate investing and crowdfunding, you can have access to those distressed, discounted deals during a recession. It's going to be amazing. The third brand new benefit, you got to love this one, anonymity. Yes, you can actually, I'm going to use a word very carefully now, stalk in a very nice way, stalk a developer in the nicest possible way to find out everything about them before you invest, without them knowing you're even looking, right? Isn't that nice? You don't have to meet them for lunch, right? And be pitched for an hour or 2 hours on how to invest in their deal. You don't have to talk to them at all. You can do research online, and there is so much information online that now you can figure out if a developer is somebody you want to invest in before you ever speak to them, right? Anonymity. And and think about it's like anything that you buy, right? When you buy anything, you do research online. You don't just jump in and buy it. You do research. Now, for the first time, you can do that with real estate developers. You don't have to sit there and be pitched, right? Before you make a decision. It's a wonderful thing. The fourth brand new benefit, and somebody stop me if I'm going on too long. I've got 4, 5, and 6, so I'm almost at the end. The fourth brand new benefit is, now this is really powerful. You can now, if you look carefully, and they're not easy to find, but you can invest in true institutional quality opportunities. And I'm going to make this point. I'm going to try and make this point quickly. The big downtown buildings that you used to seeing, all these gorgeous properties around. I'm sitting in the middle of Beverly Hills, right? Surrounded by beautiful properties everywhere. The biggest and the best of those were the exclusive domain of the ultra wealthy individuals of America. And the way that they financed those was with institutional capital. And an institution is a pension fund, an insurance company, a university endowment, sovereign wealth fund, etc., etc. Now, when you raise money from an institution, you don't raise $25,000, right? You raise 25 million. And when somebody invests 25 million, what do? They do unbelievably detailed research called due diligence in real estate. Unbelievably detailed due diligence on the sponsor, on the asset that they're investing in, on everything to do with that. I mean, I used to work for institutions. We would hire the top professionals. We'd spend, on a single deal, we might spend $100,000 just making sure that everything was exactly as had been told to us. When you invest $25,000, you simply can't do that level of research. It's not possible, right? You're not going to spend that money. But there are some sponsors out there who invest in institutional quality deals with institutions, and you can invest in those deals as well. And if you can find those kinds of deals, you are piggybacking institutional quality underwriting of those deals. So you are really reducing your risk on making sure that you're into a good deal, right? So that's institutional quality opportunities. Again, something that was really never really available to anybody before crowdfunding. Brand new benefit number 5. This is a big deal as well. This is knowing what the industry standards are. So before crowdfunding, you would go to the country club and, developer number 1 would say, or whoever it was, right? Developer number 1 would say to you, all right, invest in my deal at the corner of Walk and Crosswalk. I'm going to pay you X% yield. It's called a preferred return in real estate. I'm going to give you a preferred return of 6%, and I'm going to give you 70% of the profits. Or he might say, I'm going to give you 50% of the profits. Well, when you were sitting there at the country club or wherever you were to have with this personal relationship, because the law told you could only invest with somebody you had a personal relationship with, how do you know that he's giving you good terms? Right? You have no idea. You could only know because he told you. Maybe you know somebody else at the country club that's investing with somebody else, and they would say, yeah, I'm getting about the same term. But you really didn't know what the market terms were. You just wouldn't know. Oh my goodness me. Now you can go online and see thousands of deals. And we've actually, at Gower Crowd, we've analyzed what are the most common terms that are offered by real estate developers. So you can tell if you see a deal and he's offering 2% preferred return, you know, maybe he's not really giving me market conditions, or even 6%. I'll tell you actually exactly what the most common is 8%. That's the most common preferred return, it's the most common yield. But you can see that now that you never knew before. And then there's layers of complexity. So that's brand new benefit number 5, only one left. Brand new benefit number 5, knowing what the industry standards are so you know you're getting a good deal, right? The last one, I saw Greg grimacing when I said you can stalk a developer. Of course, I said only in a very, very nice way. Let's see if you can grimace even more now. This is one that I love, this one. Insider trading in real estate is totally legal because it's private equity, non-public information. Right? Insider trading is the use of non-public information in a publicly traded stock in order to take advantage, like these politicians that went off and sold all their blooming shares, right before, when they learned about COVID and all the lockdown, boom, they rushed out, sold everything, right, watched the market drop, and then bought it. That's called, right, and then they bought it all that. That's called insider trading. It's very, very illegal, cannot do it. But in real estate, you can. In fact, insider trading and non-public information is exactly what fuels the real estate market. If you're looking at an opportunity somewhere, let's say you see a 100-unit apartment building, and you do some research and you know that this company is coming into town, that company is coming into town, but the owner of that building doesn't know that, he will sell you that building for less than market value because you have information that he does not have. Now, there's another type, we can talk about that again, but there's another type of insider trading, more important. This is something I love, and you know, we work with sponsors all the time. And when you invest in real estate, you are investing in real estate, but you're really investing in people. Whenever you invest in that, you're really investing in people. And so you want to be sure that the sponsor, the person you're sending the money to, is making the investment for you, that they can be trusted, they know what they're doing, their experience, and that they are a good steward of your money going forward. And there's a few ways of doing that. They have to invest in the deal. You want to make sure that that they stand to lose if things go wrong. It's called the alignment of interest between the investor and the sponsor. But we have one client. This is what gave me the idea for this idea of insider trading. We have one client, and I was talking to their chief financial officer, and he said, yes, he said, I am so heavily overweighted in my personal net worth investing in all the deals that my company does. He said it's not funny. He said, I've barely got any stocks, I've barely got any bonds. I just invest in our own deals. And it suddenly occurred to me that if you can find a sponsor, right, they have staff of people who do all the work for them, whose staff invest in their deals. That tells you a lot. That is insider trading. They know what's going on. They know the people that are working the deal every day. They know how the deal is underwritten. They know everything about that deal. And if they are signing their own checks and investing their own personal capital in the deals that that company has, that is an amazing sign that that is a company whose staff really, really believe that they are onto a good thing. It's a good thing to look for when you're looking to invest in commercial real estate through crowdfunding. That is approximately 20 minutes, maybe a little bit more. You might have asked me to do more. I went a bit over, did I? I'm so sorry. It's, you know, you can tell it's like a subject I enjoy talking about. But back to you, that's kind of it at the high level. Whatever you want to do now is I'm all yours.
Well, there are a lot of questions, and wow, you kind of opened our eyes to some new ways of doing things. And it looks like leveling some playing fields, which in our community is really is very serious to us, is how do you actually get into these big games and you don't have that kind of pension monies and institutional monies behind you. So we're excited. There's a lot of questions. So I'm gonna turn it over to Greg so he can ask you some lots of questions out here.
All right, go ahead. I'm just going to put this, I'm just going to get you a link as well so you can see this.
I did put your podcast in the chat room.
Oh, thank you.
And I did put the name of your book. Is it sold on Amazon?
Well, hang on, it is, but this on
But you wanna-
Amazon, it's, yeah, but it's more expensive on Amazon.
Okay, well, give us the
So
link.
do you mind if I pop this into the?
Yeah,
what
pop
is
it in the
that?
chat for us.
Oh my goodness, this thing that says 20. Good grief. Okay. I'll try not to look at the chat. It's very distracting. Okay,
no,
so there
Greg is
is.
going to ask you the question.
Yeah, I'll go
about
through
that.
and get some of them. And
Go
you
for
need
it.
to-
Anyway,
yeah,
there, I just put the link to the book. It's called Secret World, gowercrowd.com/secret world. And that
Okay,
gets into this in detail.
all righty.
Some of the questions I think you may have addressed already. So one is,
Sure.
what are the thresholds to be able to invest in terms of dollar value? I think you already covered that. You didn't have to be an accredited investor.
There are two. There are a lot of private equity that you do have to be accredited, but but not everything. There are opportunities for non-accredited investors as well.
Okay. Let's see, what kind of growth is expected from the so the real estate crowdfundings that came online pretty much 2012, so we're about 8 to 9 years into it. I mean, how is it growing? Is it
Oh my goodness.
exploding? Is it
Gosh, I'm glad you asked that. So anecdotally, we talked about this a lot in the industry. You know, all of us who are participating in the industry knew how much it was growing, but nobody really put numbers on it. So I wrote this book, Unleashed, earlier this year. We're going to come out with a new version in the beginning of the next year. It's not really easy to show you the charts particularly well, but it is exploding in growth. It actually went from 7 billion raised in 2019 to 15 billion last year. Extraordinary growth. This is from zero. And 15 billion in private equity real estate, 25% of all the money raised for real estate was crowdfunded last year. It's unbelievable growth in just a few years. Yeah, so it's brand new, but it's gone mainstream already.
Another question here, is there a market for crowdfunding for affordable housing? And there's a lot of pressure from the community for affordable housing, but I imagine there's also pressure from the investors to deliver a return, and some of that return may be based on
Absolutely.
rental.
Greg, whoever asked that's a really good question. Yes, absolutely. If you want to invest in affordable housing, there are developers who specialize specifically in that asset class. And you can find them and you can invest directly with them relatively small amounts, and they are developing affordable housing across the country. Yeah.
And there's some tax breaks associated with those as well.
Yeah, you can absolutely. Yeah, because what happens with real estate is the developer, the professional who's managing the investment, he generates all the tax breaks and then passes them on to you. So you get, again, I'm not a tax expert. You got to deal with your own accountants, etc. But yes, the tax, all the benefits accrue exactly like they do with other real estate investments.
Next question is, does this create a real estate investment trust, a REIT?
Okay, so a REIT is different. I'll touch on REITs very, very briefly. In fact, in Secret World, in the new book, I do go into that in a little bit more detail because it is a common question. A REIT, if it's a publicly traded REIT, a REIT basically behaves like stocks. So it's subject to the news cycle. And this is, it's a bit technical, but the important thing to realize is that real estate is illiquid. In other words, you can't get your cash out quickly. If you want to sell it, it takes a long time to sell it. You know, put it on the market, advertise, talk to buyers, etc. It's a long time. It's illiquid. A REIT stock is extremely liquid. You could buy it now and sell a minute later. So there is a cost to investing through a REIT that changes an illiquid asset into being a liquid asset. So it's one way to invest in real estate, but it's more like investing in stocks and bonds than it is directly investing in real estate.
Okay,
Thank you. And I think you covered this one about the risk associated with crowdfunding.
The big risk is that it's the Wild West. You got to just, there are no analysts. You can look at a stock, you can read 100 analysts' reports about it, and people talking about it all the time. Public, they do their quarterly announcements and reports, etc. Commercial real estate, you've got to do your homework to make sure you're investing with somebody you can trust. That's the biggest risk.
A couple more questions and then we got to wrap up. How is this level of investment impacting the inventory of single family homes? In other words, are some of these crowdsourcing fundings buying up single family homes and then, taking them off the market where single families can't get them?
So every asset class, every type of real estate is being crowdfunded. Single family homes for rent, which is I think what you're talking about, single family homes for rent is also, I know of at least 2 companies that are buying single family homes and putting them on the markets for rent, but it doesn't take it off the market for families. It puts them on the market for rent for families rather than to buy them. But yes, every asset class you can invest in any asset class.
And the final question is, you have some books. How are they available?
You'd never ask. So actually, you know what? Now I come to think of it, I really did just publish one this week, and I need to change it up on my website. The place to go, let me just check, what do I got here, down here? Mm-hmm. Yes, so if you go to my website, I've got all 3 except the one I published this week. That's gowercrowd.com. Scan down the homepage, you'll see the 3 main books. Syndicate, if you want to raise money. Unleashed is the about how the industry has been growing. Real estate crowdfunding insiders guide is for insiders, is for investors. But the best one, the one that came out this week, gowercrowd.com/secret world. That's the one that I recommend you look at. That just came out. It's only $7, and I guarantee you'll like it. If you don't like it, I'll give you the $7 back. I'm not going to get rich from $7. But it also comes with, if you're not sick of hearing me talk now for however long I've been talking, actually comes with a 78-minute training from me personally. So that's totally free. So you get that thrown in as well.
And $13 shipping and handling, right?
plus the yes, that's right. Plus the $28 shipping and no, it's an ebook. If you do want so you download it immediately, get access to it immediately. If you do want a hard copy, it's also available on Amazon. I think it's $14 to get a hard copy, but get the digital one and print it. It's a better way to go. It's only $7.
Dr. Gower, what inspired you to do this?
So I've raised myself. I've been in real estate investment finance since a very, very long time. Mm-hmm. And when the laws changed in 2012, I've raised over $500 million in equity from investors, and it's always been in person. And when the laws changed in 2012, I just thought, oh my goodness, this is transformational for the industry. And so I taught myself digital marketing. I started a podcast. I figured out how to do that, how to record, edit, publish. I built a website. I figured out how to do that. And then one day I actually said to one of my friends who's a real estate sponsor, I said to him, do you mind, can I build the same system I built for myself? Can I build it for you? And he said, have you ever done it before for anyone? And I said, no. He said, okay. And so that's how I got into it about 6 years ago. So that's how it was. I knew it was going to change the real estate world, basically, for everybody.
Wow. I mean, just the whole digital marketing piece is very important because that is the way we're going in order to do business, especially since the pandemic. We're doing everything online and it's quite a busy space, but our content is very valuable. And I mean, you've generated 4 or 5 books like overnight, it seems like just last week you said. So for those of you that are here, this is a new way. And I love the way you think. I love the fact that you thought, okay, I read something, I see something's going to change. Now I'm going to create a product that can meet that change, create that new opportunity for myself and so many others. Because you could have just done it for yourself and kept the secrets to yourself.
Exactly. That's right. And it's liberating. I mean, it really is for investors, for sponsors to be able to raise money, to be able to invest in real estate. That was, now when you walk down the street, you can see these incredibly beautiful buildings and know that you can invest in those as well. It's no longer closed. It's no longer a closed elite world. It's a beautiful thing.
Awesome. Wow. Thank you so much
Sure.
for joining us. I'm going to get your books and I'm going to share it with my brother-in-law because he's really interested in purchasing real estate and getting involved on that. But, you know, it's a big market out there and pretty prohibitive for the smaller investor.
Oh yeah, you should definitely do that. And then again, I don't want to oversell or be weird or anything, but gowercrowd.com is the #1 source for information on real estate crowdfunding. I mean, there's over 1 million words of content there. There's a news channel. If you sign up there, you'll get on my newsletter. It's all 100% free. It is the ultimate source for anything related to real estate investing and crowdfunding.
Well, we thank you so much. I've already started signing up. For
you.
those of you that are looking for this recording, it will be on the community briefing website, which we will put the content information in the chat in a few minutes. And you can also find it at Recycling Black Dollars Facebook page. It is actually streaming there live right now. And it will be up on YouTube very shortly. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. And I am going to follow you. I am very intrigued. And I hope those others that are here. And crowdfunding is something we've been talking about, hearing about. I know from a small place, it requires quite a lot of effort with public relation, PR and so forth in order to get a real crowdfund to really be successful. So I'm interested in seeing how you do that same thing in a real estate platform.
Well, thank you. It's truly, I've really been looking forward to this today. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we were too, and wow, you got all the checkpoints, and I'm excited. So, Stephen, did you want to say anything before we bring on Dr. Mays to give us an update? Well, thank you so much, Adam. We're gonna have our resident of vaccination coronavirus expert speak to us for a moment to get us abreast. She actually works with UCLA and she's a doctor and she's going to give us some input. So, but thank you so much. We so appreciate having you on the program, and I'm looking forward to learning more.
Thank you.
All righty. So Dr. Mays, you want to jump on in and give us some news for this week?
Shots fired, right? Shots fired.
I will do that and start by saying good morning, family. Hope that all are staying well by listening to community briefings. I wanted to update you on something that I presented last week because the science has gotten even better. So before, when I told you to ask those questions this holiday season about not did you get vaccinated, but when, we now know it's even, a tighter span of time that before I said if you'd had Moderna or Pfizer, that if somebody was somewhere in those 7, 8 months, nope, we're down to 6 months. So the recommendation now is to get your booster 6 months after that. So as you're having, your meets and greets and parties and all of that, Johnson & Johnson is still 2 months. So if somebody has had it within 2 months, doors open. If it's over 2 months, they can watch the party just like we watch the funeral services from afar, and if it is Pfizer or Moderna, 6 months. If they're over 6 months, thank them again and tell them they can watch you stream the party, but that, they're not the first to be welcome. If in the event that there are people who are going to be there and you are concerned about them, what I shared with you last week still takes place, which is think about being double masked. Think about the kind of little holiday cuteness that you want to wear, and think about having a surgical mask with some, other little holiday mask there. Or if you're buying people gifts, if you're having trouble with people wearing the right mask, then go and select masks, and you can get them on Etsy or, a lot of different places. It has a sleeve in it. Buy them that, and buy them a couple of the filters that we put in as well. And then what you're doing is increasing their safety. There is also, my last update is there's also some good news on the horizon that we may be closer to a vaccination for under 5. So it's looking good. We can't predict exactly when, but we know that's a really big hurdle, because we know that people don't use the usual immunizations for children who are young. So I'm just, you want to have conversations about things during the holidays, start prepping people to move ahead. So that's my update, family.
Thank you so much. I said before some of you guys came on, my co-host with the Business Zone with Crystal and Gilbert. Gilbert actually was admitted to the hospital yesterday because on Thanksgiving, he was invited to a friend's home. He did all his due diligence, Dr. Mays. He asked, was everyone going to be vaccinated? He asked where how many people were going to be there, whether it was going to be inside or outside. He was told that there were going to be less than 10 people and that everybody had been vaccinated and that it was going to be outdoors. When he got there, there was over 30 people. Nobody was wearing a mask. Obviously, somebody wasn't vaccinated. And by Monday, he already had started feeling symptoms. And so so he went through the whole weekend. He was feeling really bad. Yesterday, I just begged him to go to the hospital because he was sounding weaker and weaker and weaker. And I kept telling him, there is nothing you can do at home right now. And he had all the symptoms, the headaches, the diarrhea, everything. And I knew he was getting dehydrated because his voice was getting weaker. And so by the time he got to the hospital, they had told him that he had double pneumonia and that he was really seriously ill. And if he had not gotten his vaccination, he would not be alive to be here today. And so I'm just saying to you guys, so this hit home to me because this is my business partner. And Gilbert was very cautious throughout the entire COVID time. He didn't leave the house until April. He didn't even visit people until April 21. He wasn't coming out of his house because he wanted to be safe. So he trusted a friend of his and that they were telling the truth. And then when he spoke to the friend kind of took it in jest and started to laugh, and they were teasing him about taking his mask off. Why was he the only person in the room with the mask? So I'm saying what Dr. Mays is saying, this is real, guys. And I don't want to lose anyone. And the reason I got vaccinated was because I cared about my family and my friends. I don't want to be the person to infect anyone. And so I'm just expressing to you, first, pray for Gilbert, because I need him back. And we all need him. He's a valuable asset to our community and to our business community, especially. And I'm just asking you guys, be careful. Just make sure, I know it's the holiday season, but we got to be careful. We want to make sure that we're here. Whatever your beliefs are, stand on those. But if you're going to stand on those, then you got to stand on your island by yourself and not invade anybody else's space. You can have all your rights in the world, believe what you believe, but you don't have the right to take our lives away from us. So that's just me and my soapbox. And Dr. Mays, thank you so much. And the other thing I think it has to be very important when we do get tested for COVID, how important is it to go to the doctor like right away?
Let me just say two things. One, my heart is out for Gilbert, because this is one of those where somebody didn't do right by him to some extent. And we really have to become responsible. Second, as soon as we get sick, so if you test and you get sick, and even if you're feeling very mild symptoms, you still need to ask a healthcare provider whether you can get monoclonal antibodies. So don't wait until you get very sick. You need to ask the question early. You need to, because not everybody has monoclonal antibodies available. So you're going to have to know where to go. So I think we had a session where I did a whole thing about that. But next time anybody close to you gets sick, and they test and somebody just said, oh, just stay in the house 10 days, put the little pulse oximeter on you and let me know if you're getting good oxygen. Start with a series of questions. What should I be looking for if I start to get really sick? Is this pulsometer the only thing you're telling me to watch? Because I told you, the darker your skin, some of those things don't work as well. But more importantly, can I take any of the pills that are currently in development? And can I qualify for monoclonal antibodies? So everybody, if somebody gets sick, don't wait till they're super sick. Tell them, go have a conversation. Tell them, don't let providers tell them, just go sit at home for 10 days. But they need to know exactly when to come back out into that healthcare and say, you need to give me the following options.
Thank you. And someone wants to know what is the best self-test, and I want to know, do they actually work?
Okay, so we haven't reached a point where there's one that's better, that, we're doing consumer reports, ratings, and all of that kind of stuff. So right now, just go test. And what you need to understand is there are different kind of tests. So the tests you get in the drugstore, or what we call the fast tests, those can be sometimes false. So I tell people, go do another one, just in case. Go follow it up. Don't do the happy dance and think it's over. Pay attention to your symptoms and do them again. Then there is a test that's a PCR test where, we're really then growing things, looking at things, and taking time that, it takes longer to get the results of those. So if you take a test and it's negative, you all have heard this in the media. Oh, the person on the staff took a test and it was negative, and 2 days later they were positive. Sometimes it just depends how much of the virus is in your body at the time. So I always say test, retest, be safe. If you're going to get upset about how much it's going to cost you, remember, the president just said tests should be free. Health insurance should pay for them, and they should be available. So put the cost behind you. Think about your life. Think about how many times you go in Starbucks and get, frap of this and that. And, when it adds up, just let 3 of those go and go get the test until everybody can get them for free.
Dr. Mays, are those tests false negatives and false positives, or pretty much false negatives?
Some of the tests have been false negatives, and some of the tests at times have been false positives. So this is why I say test. Test and then test again, just so that, you don't know. Some of you are so attuned to your bodies that your body has not produced enough for the test to even detect it, but you are on top of your bodies and know you don't feel well. And so then if you go back and test again, it's really to your advantage.
Have flu rates gone down? Because I mean, my wife and I were talking about, we haven't had a cold or a flu because we're wearing masks, but how do you differentiate between the flu and the COVID symptoms?
Well, sometimes they look very similar. So sometimes that's why you end up going and testing. But we've also been asking people to get flu shots. Now, I'm gonna let you in on a big secret. You go knock on wood, and you know what it tells me is that the fact that you don't have a cold or the flu, it tells me how well you're doing in terms of mask wearing. Because the honest truth is, we have been so away from people that our, immune system is not quite what it usually is in terms of having things in small doses. So as soon as people start telling me I had a cold and I said, okay, then you need to go deal with mask wearing again, because you are slipping, because some kind of way you got these germs. So Gregory, you're doing well. Hopefully everybody else will do well.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mays. I feel a little bit more comfortable, and thank you. I will talk to Gilbert shortly, so I will pass on the blessings from everyone in prayer. So thank you guys so much. Stephen, who's here with us next week?
Next week we have Felicia Fisher Shamu. She's the furniture designer of the SoFi Stadium furniture. She's also done the W Hotel, as well as the hotels in Dubai and Maverick's Flat. So she was just talking about the trials and tribulation of designing furniture on the high end for stadiums and hotels, as well as in our community, how she took her company and pivoted from the COVID-19, as well as she's been featured in the Super Bowl as one of the Black business owners. That's next week, December the 16th at 11 o'clock.
Thank you very much. And before we tune out, Colette Moore, our correspondent from Pacific Coast Regional Center, there's a new grant out backing Black businesses, new grants for Black women. It closes December 15th, so apply now. The information, the link is in the chat, so hurry along, all of our female Black business owners. And as well, the EIDL is closing, I believe, December 31st. So if you're still looking for that a very low point loan, then you can run on over there and get your EIDL. So with that, guys, want to thank you so much. And we will see you next Thursday at 11 a.m. We want to thank Dr. Gower for such a great information, and we'll be following you as well. You have a whole bunch of new friends, Dr. Gower. So hope you're ready for us all. And we want to thank everyone here. Dr. Mays, love you. Keep coming back while we're in this pandemic and giving us information. We want to make sure we're all here so that in 2022 that we can be productive and have some great successes, but we got to take care of ourselves in order to do that. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Robin. Thank all of you here, and welcome to the new faces. And we hope to see you back. So have a great week, guys. See ya.
Have a good day.